Welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast, where we break mental health stigmas through conversations. I'm your host, Nat Nat, and we dive into topics about trauma and how it impacts the nervous system. Yet we don't just leave you there. We share insights and tools of self-care, meditation, and growth that help you be curious about your own biology. Your presence matters. Please like and subscribe to our podcast. Help our community grow. Let's get into this. Oh, and please remember to be kind to yourself. Hi, Julia.
Okay, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Okay. I can't hear you. Let me see.
Can you hear me now? Nothing?
Okay, there we go. Try
Can you hear
that.
me now?
Yeah. It was
Okay.
on my side, Miha. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was on my side. I'm getting to know all this stuff.
It's all
So
right.
I thought, yeah, like, okay, I'm gonna go over there where it says the mic, and then there's gotta be where I'm not hooked up to something.
Yeah. Because I was like, I just came off a podcast, so I know my mic is working.
Yeah.
Sorry for being so late. I was just speaking to a parent. He calls it peregrine. Have you ever heard of peregrine?
Mm-mm.
Peregrine. So it's a type of falcon. And
Oh, a bird.
yes, yet he uses a title peregrine for those parents that have lost their children because there's
Mm.
no real title for that. And
Mm-hmm.
a bereavement child or a parent without child sounds pretty dense and heavy, where a peregrine allows you to have your wings and still soar and fly and be powerful. So it's all about how you're framing the grief and how you're going to remember that if you understand the other side of love, that you can still be in connection with them and they're still here with you. Maybe not in the physical form of the body, but the spiritual aspect
Mm-hmm.
is still there. Created that
Yeah.
title because he said when people would ask him, like, are you a parent? It would be difficult because it'd be like, yeah, but, or do you have any kids? And it'd be like, yeah, but I lost. And then it would go into the conversation. Whereas if I just say this title, you already know. And then if you want to know more, you'll ask or you'll just leave it the way it is. Whereas the other
Mm-hmm.
way, it just brought very superficial
Yeah.
conversations with people.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. You know what, Miha? It's interesting you share that because in the work that I do, sometimes I work with folks that have, as parents that have lost children through baby all the way up to, and I noticed that and I'm not talking about the father more often than not. I'm talking with the mother. And more often than not, what I'll see, they'll do one of two things. I'm sure there's many other ways that this goes. Either the mother will go into a state of grace. I mean, she will just say, okay, this, I mean, she's grieving and she'll go there. And the other will implode, and I've had, and I'm right now, that's what I'm going, not me personally, me, but my sibling, we're like we just got the diagnosis. She's got terminal cancer, and she's got just a couple month or two to live. It just came all of a sudden. I mean, not all of a sudden, but 4 years ago my niece died,
okay.
and my sister took the latter, and you know and imploded because they're like, we don't know where all this cancer came from. She's full, like there's no going back. And she goes, I go to the doctors, this and that, and whatever, and it just ate her up inside. Yeah, because of the grief. Yeah. So yeah, and yeah, and I I hold those mothers in great respect and honor and how they be in life. And like my sister knows my work, and I do um have the don't know how to say that. I don't know how to say this. This is one thing that I'm like, because I get to talk story with people in the non-physical people that have moved on or whatever. That's not a we're all going to do our rebirthing. I call it, people call it death, but I call it rebirthing. We're all going to do that. We're not going to escape that. And so for when my niece Alicia left, it, it I grieved her in the human realm, but I get to visit with her, like the moment it happened, the moment this, her and I've been able to do that with a lot of, yeah, but not everybody understands that,
Yeah,
especially a mother.
yeah,
And my sister goes, she knows what I do. And she goes, I'm not ready to talk to Alicia. And I said, that's okay, Mija. You know, I mean, not now, but when it all happened, she got the word out and told my other siblings, tell Jules, I don't know if I could talk to Alicia. I don't know, I'm just, and here she is dying of cancer and she never got that, now she's going to, but she just couldn't. And that's been my experience through the years. Mothers will come to me and say, can I talk to my son or my daughter? Um, and I just, okay, yeah, let's do that. But in majority of them don't want to. It's too painful, like, no, I can't do that kind of deal. Um, I've only had a handful of two, like maybe less than 10 that have said, hey, I can do this. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Siblings usually want to visit with them and stuff like that, right? Yeah. So it's interesting you have him before because I'm with him. I think it's just, as soon as my sister says, yeah, I lost my daughter or whatever, they get that look, like that. And nobody wants that look. I don't know anybody that, and energetically, vibrationally, when I've done groups, those mothers in the crowd will look at me and I can tell that they've lost their child and they'll come up after and they'll say, huh? I said, yeah, I do, Miha, because, yeah. And then they'll say, well, do you mind, if we sit over here, I would like to talk to him. And I said, sure, let's see what's going on here. Or her, or I'm not ready to talk to them. Can I get your number when I'm ready? And those calls almost never come. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's just, yeah, it's not part of our, the overcultures. Um, yeah. And in my indigenous culture, that there's no difference. There's no, you hang out with my folks and meaning, when I'm hanging out with whomever, indigenous folks like yourself, we sit, we talk story and they'll go, oh, did Auntie so-and-so come visit you? And I go, yeah, man, she's bugging the crap out of me. She told me to do X, Y, and Z. It's more of yeah, not that there's no grieving. There is grieving. There's that honor in grieving and yeah, there is definitely whatever they do, celebration, however you want to call it, right? But there's also that, oh, did you see him again? Or da da da. And I go, yeah, yeah. I said, let him bother you now, So they become part of the conversation,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
They're not it's not something to fear. And no, nothing on this podcast. We don't have to make up a name.
yeah,
Yeah, because for the overculture to understand that it's a movement, it's a rebirthing. It's not a death. It's a death of the body, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and that we're all going to do it. And so I have to be careful when I'm around certain folks, even my own family, because I have a huge family. And um, my sister Rachel, when we heard, I went up there. So I gathered all my medicine stuff to give to my niece. She has my niece left behind 3 children. So my sister's been taking care of them. And so I thought, oh, I need to bring Jazzy's her medicine bag. And then when I got there, I could see my sister wasn't gonna make it through the night. And I said, hey, with your permission, even though they know what I do, I don't just go in there. With your permission, I would like to scan her body and then that's when I said, oh, fuck, she's full of cancer. I wasn't going to tell that to Jazzy. Hell no. I wasn't going to be the one bearing the news. I let the doctors take care of that. But I did my thing, and then I talked to my sister, and then I said, okay, sis, it's up to you. You're going to make it through the night or not. And so she did. And then we found everything. But my other siblings are not ready to hear any of that. It's too, even though they know my work, they're in the grieving of finding out she's full of cancer. Yeah. And I've had a really challenging time most of my life because it's not that I want to pull them into that, but I just want to share with them there's more than what's happening right now. But it's too much grief, and I get it. So I do my best to stay quiet. And if my sister comes to me or somebody else comes to me, because right now my mom and all the relatives and ancestors and so on are preparing for my sister. And it's actually beautiful. It's like my mom comes in and goes, hey, Mija, where I said, okay, yeah, that looks good, blah, 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 blah. And then I go to the hospital and just there was a big blowout at the hospital last night. Everybody's emotions were everywhere and people were yelling at each other. And I go, fuck, I just said, I'm
Oh,
out. I'm
yeah.
out. I'm out. And so then they said, no visitors for 3 days. I said, I'm out. We didn't get to see her because of what was happening before we even got there. And I'm like, not that it could be easier. I just thought I'm here to help.
I think it can be easier. I think that's the proper word.
Mhm.
It can be more softer. It can be more
Yeah.
easier. It can be more taking our time with it and not
Yeah.
avoid the emotions and the depths of I'm projecting and trying to do
Mhm.
blame rather than feel your own experience and remember that we're a community, we're a family, we're a collective traversing
Mhm.
this. So,
Yeah.
allowing.
Yeah. Allowing that there are uh I guess they call them death doulas or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually read this gal, amazing. I read her book and or listened to it, and I kind of went, oh, okay.
You
And
recognize that's you?
hmm?
You
What was it?
recognize that that's you?
Well, I do that. I do the doula thing, but it not in she's doing it professionally and has worked with, but she does
That
it different.
that's you.
Yeah,
You do it in
yeah,
a way that you understand you've been holding the space. You just
yeah,
haven't done it in the
professional
way the
way.
professional way,
Mhm.
but that's in your essence that you understand all this. So you're looking at them
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
is
I
natural to me.
Yeah, I just want to help, and this isn't my first rodeo with my family, because when they want something or need something, I'm not a crystal ball. That's what I keep saying. I'm not a crystal ball. I'm not a psychic.
Yeah.
That's what the overculture. I'm a curandera. I'm a seer, and so yeah. But the gal that I can't remember her name, but after we're done, I'll send it to you. She's really cool. I think she's badass in so many ways, and I don't use that very often. But she made me giggle because how I see she's very not clinical. It's very beautiful and kind and all that. But she's mentioned about when people are leaving, and this is the truth, their relatives start coming in the non-physical.
Yeah.
And so she goes, I don't want to see dead people. I just don't want to, I don't even know what that's about. No, she was funny, and because she says, everybody ask her what's on the other side. And she goes, I don't know. She's just trying to keep them comfortable and
Hmm.
whatever she's also a lawyer, helps them with all their paperwork and stuff.
So
So
she's ethical. Yeah.
yeah, she's got a business and she trains other death doulas or life doulas or whatever you want to call it. And I think it's great. But I wanted to email her and say there, because she goes, nobody knows what's on the other side. And I go, I do. I do. I really do. That's my jam.
So
you know, I probably will because I just read it last week or something or the week before. And I go, oh, this is really interesting. And then I go, yeah, I know what's over there. Why did she say that? And there's other folks that know. Yeah. I mean,
when you
yeah.
open yourself up to it and you're not stuck in the perception that the world has created this little box, that you
Mm-hmm.
really understand the spirituality, and you understand nervous systems create other nervous systems. They
Thank
house
you.
spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
if you tune your radio, you can get the transmission from, I say, the other side of love. Like people
Yeah.
think death is some evil thing, where it's like, no, it's all love. It's just
Yeah.
this perception of putting black and white with things, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you're not understanding, the impermanence of life and the evolutions of
There
it.
you go.
Like you say, the rebirth, some people say karma, some people
Mm-hmm.
say the resurrection. And it's like, we're all talking
Mm-hmm.
the same freaking thing, but
Yeah. Yeah.
has to
Yeah.
be the ruler of, no, my way is the only way. And it's like, we're all
That's
speaking
crazy.
freaking. And you know what, in the conversation just before, he blended something for me, because he said, with grief there's a mourning aspect, and mourning, there's nothing you can do, you just
Thank
mourn.
you.
But then there's this thin layer that you go through, and then you're in the grief and you can do something, and you use purpose, and it's always there. And I'm like, that's the
Amen.
same thing as pain and suffering. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
a part where you're stuck in suffering, but you're just rocking in the rocking chair, just looping and not getting anywhere. Yet
Mm-hmm.
then when you decide, okay, no more of this, and you go and you use your pain for
Mm-hmm.
purpose. So I'm like, we have these experiences that can help us to understand the nervous system and that
Thank
negative
you.
bias it stays in.
Mm-hmm.
Yet there's something beyond. Yet the world will make us feel that you're woo-woo and those things don't exist, and you're going into some dimensions that, oh, we don't,
Mm-hmm.
you're out of touch of reality. And it's like, you just
No.
forgot what it is to be human, and what this blending of the human and spirituality aspect
Mm-hmm.
together. And
Exactly.
open up this, like, to think that a life force that is like, the body is so complicated that we still don't know like 1/10 of what all the
Thank
brain,
you.
all these things go on. And to think that the life force and the spirituality is only limited to, like, some babies are born and they don't
Mm-hmm.
even take their first breath, yet there was a
Amen.
life force that was going on in the womb. So
Mm-hmm.
to really, blend those, yet again, those that have the narrative of creating you in a box, they get to capitalize on your fear of
Thank
thinking
you.
there's a limit,
Thank
where
you.
not being able to be in that limitless, and trust
Mm-hmm.
stuff,
Mm-hmm.
trusting in your experience and feeling all of your emotions, not doing
Thank
a
you.
la carte, yet also being responsible that it doesn't hijack your behavior. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be messy, yet it takes safe spaces, sacred spaces of, okay, you got to start feeling and acknowledging, and it's going to be a bit of a rough ride, because your
Mm-hmm.
body's never felt these kind of energies. You've been
Thank you.
drinking or numbing or yelling at other people, or going,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, you're going to navigate differently with this, so you can come
Amen.
into your body,
I
and
love it.
and honor your humanness. And
That is it. Yeah.
I'm sure for you, it might, for like me,
No,
just
it's true.
interpreting for your, like, a kind of mind fuck for myself. I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
we are all from the same
Thank,
family, same
thank
blood.
you.
And why is it that I'm tapping into this and you guys have the same thing? It's not like I'm an alien that landed somewhere else. Like, this is part of our root.
Mm-hmm.
How did you become so asleep to this?
Exact. Yeah. Miha, I was thinking about you, before
Thank you.
this. Yeah. No, I was thinking about you, and you were talking about the nervous system and how, the hijacking and all of that. Check this out, Matt. I mean, I know you have an understanding because I've shared it with you. I talk to the non-physical realm 24/7. That's how I came in. I don't know what it feels like not to have them, right? And my body, my human body still hijacks me. I
Yeah.
still go into that effing loop and I go, but I know it's happening. I know, oh gosh, Julia, you're in like in my, I said, stop. And I go, okay, breathe, like that, breathe, Julia, go back to your breathing. I go, and then I go into judgment. You know better. You see angels every day. You talk to your ancestors. You do this, you see this, you could see everything, and you're still doing this. And then my non-physical peeps go, but you have a human body and you've had experiences in that human body, and that human body is responding to external stimuli. Accept the fact that you are a human. period. Does that make sense? You know, like you just said, everything you said, right? So, so that's where the compassion from self comes first. You know, I go, okay, I need to be compassionate. Then I look at my family, and it was a really shit show last night, a
Yeah.
big, horrible shit show. And I just went, and I thought, oh my gosh, compassion for them. Because I'm not, I came in late, so I didn't know what the shit show was, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to figure out what's going on, right? And then when I find out, I get angry and I have to go take a walk. And I'm like, it's fucking hot out here. And my daughter's going, are you okay? I said, no, I'm not okay. What the hell? What the fuck was that? And then I'm sure you know this here. So the room that we were in is the ICU waiting room. And then a couple other people came in and they're having marital problems big time. And so I'm just talking to the female who happens to be my daughter-in-law, and she's very intuitive. She's just got a, and she's hurting, and a word was said, and she loses it. And I go, oh, not about my sister, but about her situation. And she's yelling and screaming, and I'm going, what the fuck? And I'm just sitting there with my mask going, oh God. And then my son goes, what the hell happened? And I go, leave. Because I was concerned my daughter and I was going to do something to my son. You know, like it just got crazy. And I just went, and then later I told my daughter, I said, you know, the room was already amped up. And when she walked in, all her pain and suffering came up and she just threw up, whatever, hers and everybody else's. And my daughter goes, yeah, I get that. And I go, well, I'm glad you do, because I was upset with her, but then I also knew she walked into something that wasn't good. Yeah. Yeah,
And
kind of
that
deal.
is contagious. So
Yeah. Oh God.
you already you're dealing with everybody else's energy,
Yeah.
because nervous systems that are seeing
That's
death,
what you were. Yeah.
it's the one function, don't die. So you are on high activation already, because it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
wait, is it our turn? I don't want this. Our world is gonna be disrupted. Our whole universe is gonna implode and explode. And
Mm-hmm.
so until you understand, like, oh, this is gonna be a reaction,
Yeah.
like, and call it out, acknowledge
Mm-hmm.
it, and then just move more slowly with it. Yet if you have
Exactly.
all these ruptures already that are going on that haven't been addressed, then this is just like, oh, we got to be honest and just friggin' puke, like you said, all of our stuff.
I
And
see.
because we
I see.
don't,
You know how that emoji looks like with the throw up?
yep, yep,
Because I could see frequency and energy, and you know, and I'm watching her, and I had compassion for her. I really did. I was just like, because she kept looking at me and saying, this is not about you, I'm not yelling at you. And I got that, but she was yelling at me. I was, you know, like, you know, and she's saying things about my son, and I go, well, fuck, TMI, you know, I don't want to know all that crap.
yeah.
And
Like,
you
you
know,
forget what the position I am. I'm here to comfort you, but remember, I'm the mother of this child too.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
I'm trying to
I
be subjective. I'm trying to, and like, and it's like I'm trying to not take this personally too.
yeah,
And these are the tools. These are
yeah,
really, and see how the dynamic of being human and being spiritual, and that's why it's called
exactly,
radical compassion, because
exactly.
it
It's
has to be
radical.
radical sometimes,
It
like
sure
the
is.
compassion of it. And it's like, whoa, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah,
Um,
because that's why when I haven't listened to art, you know, the other, you know, back and forth, but I'm following you and I'm listening to on Instagram and stuff, and I'm going, you. This is the way I kind of look at, you know, our matrix, if you want to call it, here on this planet, you know, like a tapestry. And the one thing I do not scribe to is that I have all the answers.
yeah,
And I think that's what a lot of folks do when they're psychics, and somehow or another things get on there and there's somebody saying blah blah blah, this is the way it's going to go, and I'm like, not. We're all part of it, you know. So I think I was thinking about you and I thought, wow, she really understands the body and the nervous system. And that's something, I mean, I've been working on all my life and I understand it, but and I love to hear about it, because when I get hijacked, I know it's not about me, or other people get hijacked. Yeah. It's about um having a container for self and having compassion for self first. And that's a tough one if you're supposed to be the matriarch or you're leading a family or whatever, right? And everybody's looking to you, or they're not looking to you, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, because I did think about, and this is kind of interesting. I was thinking about your work, right? And that's when all that stuff, and I'm like, okay, guys, help me. And they go, remember your nervous system, because I'm sitting there as she's throwing up, as everybody's throwing up. And then I kind of farted here and there because this morning I go, well, I probably shouldn't have said that, but I don't know, like,
You did.
yeah, and I'm trying to do this and that, I'm like, okay, and then I'm thinking, see, this is the thing. I never go against my gut ever. Very seldom I do that. There's 7 females. This one that's passing, she's a year younger than I. The youngest one called us up on Monday when everybody got the news and just was all upset. Called everybody up, said, you guys need to be here. And I'm like 2 hours away. Yeah. So depending on traffic.
Are you in, where are you again?
I'm in Pacifica, like 15 minutes south of San Francisco. Yeah.
I am going to connect you with somebody. I think she's still, where's Berkeley?
Oh yeah, it's just over there.
I'm going to connect you, my friend Roxa Beth.
Hmm.
She's
What's her
from
last name or
um
he?
it's a she.
Okay.
Um, can't remember right now, but she's
That's
from
okay.
Mexico.
Hmm.
And her thing with death is she has it the hummingbird.
Oh yes, Mija. I know about the hummingbird. Hmm.
And
I
so
mean, I'm
I'm
not saying I know everything,
yeah,
but
yeah. No, no,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
I'm going to connect you because you're very
Sure.
in close proximity. And maybe there might be some language that she's able to give you to navigate through that because when it's subjective, it's difficult to hold that space and be in my family dynamic. I'm just going
Hmm.
to connect the two of you guys for that because I'm like,
Yeah.
there's no coincidences of
Oh
the
no.
way
Mm-mm.
connections are and what you're going through right now and all that. And like she says, like she's had to navigate in her own. And she's like, with other people, I know this jam, like I'm no problem. But in my own, I'm like getting distorted and kind of fumbling where it's like, and then I'll just remind her and she's like, yeah, this is where I need to be. And
Yeah.
like, regulating her nervous system. So yeah, after I'm gonna
Yeah.
connect.
Yeah. No. Yeah. The hummingbird. I'm sure you know that. That's
Yeah,
our dragon.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
started off
So
as I'm one of my good friends, Jacqueline, that passed in 2019. As when and she's like, damn, she hurt me so many times. Me in a funny way,
yeah,
tongue
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
cheek, like, hey Julia, you get your act together, whatever. So when I'm lost, all of a sudden a hummingbird, because there's here, but there's one in particular, a black one. She was a sister, and this beautiful black hummingbird comes. I said, "Oh, girl, you be coming in your skin."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know. She cracks me up. I said, "You didn't put no color in there." She goes, "Uh-uh." She was a power lifter and a dancer and traveled the world dancing in Kundalini. Went to Africa. I mean, she was still amazing. But so when I'm struggling, well, I'll
All
like, ooh, all the time. And then when I did the ceremony for my sister, she goes, because when I go in, sometimes I don't know what's going to come out. And I said, hey, Jacqueline, we're in ICU, got permission from my niece and her sons, but there's doctors coming in and out, and let's get this on the low. And she guided me through the ceremony, and I said, okay, cool, and thank you, sis. She goes, I got you, and I agree with you. My nervous system is getting a beating, and I need to be a constant aware of that, because when I go in, I have the tendency to forget about my body.
you're rescuing everybody else and holding the space for everybody else and forgetting you need your own sacred space to be able to release because this is part of
Yeah,
your story also. There's
yeah, oh
a
yeah, yeah. Because I could miss it. I don't know if I miss it, but I just don't want to hurt my body anymore.
yeah,
Unconsciously. I mean, I don't. Because I never really thought anything too much about the human body. I'll be honest with you, just till not too long ago.
yeah,
Yeah. So I'm like, huh. I mean, I understood it intellectually. That's a whole different thing. I could talk to anybody about the body intellectually without, I'll go, oh, I'm in my head again about that. Okay, honey.
Come on in
You've been,
your body
you,
again and remember
you,
me. It's like,
yeah,
oh, you kind
you've
of
been
make me
avoiding me.
think,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I've been liking some of your Instagram goodies and how, because you do something very different. I mean, it's uniquely yours, but it is, and I like it. It's because how do I put this? It's so natural. There's not a lot of because sometimes I go, man, like, maybe I should do it this way. The human brain kind of goes, maybe I should. And then all some of them, these podcasts that I listen,
Hang on.
always
We're
a
lagging.
pitch about something. But yours is purely, I've been seeing. Okay,
We're lagging.
should be
Okay,
on.
go. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So, anyways, yours um, I mean, I do the informational stuff too, here and there. You're right, yeah. But um, and I've noticed when I've done similar what you've done, in my own way, where it's just me talking story about something. I go, oh, people will go, man, that was so genuine. That was so, blah, blah, blah. And I go, yeah, yeah. And I go, oh, I see what they're talking about because that's what yours are like. I just wanted to share that with you. I
Do I
thought, because
get
I
that?
wanted to see, yeah, I wanted to see where this might go.
We're lagging again.
And let's see where
We're lagging. Can you hear me? I didn't hear any of that. Uh-oh.
So it's in a bucket.
Didn't hear
Okay.
any of that.
Could be my ending rooms. Okay. Sometimes we have to turn the cameras off. Okay.
Okay.
Let me get on here. Um,
Can
can
you
you
hear?
hear me?
I
I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
I don't know why. Yeah, it goes into, I didn't hear anything you said about my podcast or any of that. So I'm like, oh, is it that I am not to hear this stuff? And then my ego gets boosted or something? I don't know. Because anytime you talked about me, it just goes funky.
Uh, helps with, let me see, helps with okay, I was typing something. Sometimes if I turn the camera off,
Yeah.
we don't get interruption. Yeah, because I'm in a valley. It's really kind of, I'm doing the best I can. I'm
Yeah.
just going to say that you're beautiful. I love all your Instagram posts and how you're doing it. And it's very clear about what your path and mission is. So just wanted to say that. Yeah.
I, I hope it's giving you some tools for yourself to
Oh,
navigate
yes. Hmm.
depth with
Yeah.
your body.
Yeah. I think I find it's a challenge. People talk about, having humility and in that humility, people think something else. And it's humility means to be teachable, and to learn. And I've always, well, yeah, yeah. But again, if you have the tendency to go into your head, which I do at times for the body, because, oh, that looks really great. I love science and I love all that good stuff. So I have to be careful. And so your delivery makes it so that, oh, okay, she's here to be part of my healing. She's not trying to tell me what to do. And when I think that's a human condition,
Yeah.
and I've been this way. My sisters were all loaded with that. It's about I could take care of myself. I can do it. Kind of deal. I watch my siblings and I go, ooh, ooh, and I tell them, I said, ooh, shit. They go, what? And I go, oh, I always say, are you open to hear what I'm going to say? Because and they go, yeah, sure. And I tell them, they go, and they'll start fighting me on it. I said, no, whether you hear this or not, but I see it, and I thank you for showing me something about myself. And they go, is it, are you saying I'm bad? I said, no, you do your thing. I'm just noticing me. That's all.
Mhm.
That's all. It's not even a judgment. It's just, I need to be aware of it.
Yeah. Um,
Mhm.
and I have that me and my mother are supercharged right now. And anytime we come around each other, it's like, there's,
I'm very aware of her inner dialogue, and it's always been projected out to me as criticism. So you
Mm-hmm.
and you and you, and I've been hearing it, and then I come to defend myself. And then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I remember this isn't about you. Like this is just how she speaks, but you're
Yeah.
taking it personally. And I'm working at not taking it personally, which I'm still falling in these freaking pit holes because I'm like being taught like, oh, you still got some learning, even though, other people are like, oh, you're so amazing and you get it. And I'm like, oh, I'm still learning because, you
Thank
know,
you.
our
I'm with you.
closest are what activate us and show us certain parts. The twins, they could tell you a different part of the neurotic mom that shows up and everything else. And I can see some of the energetic stuff that I'm still passing down that my mother put into me that I'm like working really hard not to put onto them. Yet there's just this energy transference that just is palpable and so addictive and so familiar that it's like, but I know not to be in this. And it's like, jump out. And it's like,
Oh, you made me laugh. So addicting because it is. It's like you know. No, I'm with you, Mija, because I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, let me grab that. Oh no, don't grab it. There's this whole dialogue because it's like, and when you said it's not about me, totally. This whole since Friday, my peeps are going. This is not about you, Julia. This is not about you, Mija. Blah blah blah, it's not about you. And I go, but it is, you know,
and
because
that's a nervous system. That's that
yeah.
nervous system of the defense mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
And it's having to reshape it and stretch it. And it's like, wait a minute, you are forgetting to feel and breathe into this experience so that you aren't having to defend yourself. Like what happened before isn't happening now. So you're
Mm-mm.
not seeing the experience. You're just going by what was familiar in a previous experience. And you're bringing that here right now rather than
Mm-hmm.
just being presence.
Exactly.
You just be presence. And it's like, why is it so easy with other people? Why does God be so difficult with my own family? Well, because you're
Yes,
actually seeing your direct reflection.
exactly. Well, anyway, the more skin you have in the game, literally, the more we react.
Oh my God. And I'm like, oh, and
Yeah.
and then when I go out there, I feel like a fraud with some people because I'm like, if you were to talk to like one of the boys this morning, they'd be like, I
Yeah.
don't know why
Right.
she's being so nice with you because that's not what
Mm-hmm.
I got. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that is true. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but you just aren't doing what, and it's like, there you go again with the you statement, and you statements, you can, and it's like, how do I relearn a language in this? And that's my learning too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I never want to ever give the experience that I'm some expert, that I'm some guru.
I hear
And I also make sure that my ego doesn't get inflated, that it hijacks
you.
um and recognize like, wait a minute, just like me, everybody else is experiencing. I just am a little bit further along the path so I can let them know it's safe to come down here. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
I love
traverse
that.
this
Mm-hmm.
aspect, but this isn't like, it's not a vertical, it's a horizontal. We're
Mm-hmm.
on the same plane. It's just I went a little bit further in the wilderness because
Yeah.
I was
Mm-hmm.
courageous enough to go in there, and I'm letting you know there's a lot to experience. Yeah, it's going to activate some stuff, yet you're not seeing the possibilities of new experiences and flourishing in places of your potential that you
Mm-hmm.
just haven't allowed to develop. Um,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
if that
No, I
makes
hear you, Mia, because what you're sharing that and again it's semantics or your one's terminology or whatever. And most of my language came from my non-physical beings. And it's
yeah,
very simple and plain, right? So I mean, I've done a lot of reading, blah, 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 and whatever. But I never really cared for, and you didn't use this, but most people do, low frequency or high vibrate. I don't
this
care for that. So I sat down with my peeps and I said, this is like a long time ago. And I said, hey, I don't like that. Was there another way I could share that with? And then they were showing me stuff and I kind of went, oh, okay. So because in the non-physical realm of being, in that realm, there is no right or wrong.
no,
There's just is. In the human realm, there is, because we have a brain and we put things into compartments, right? That's
And
just what we do.
legal system.
Yeah, exactly. And so they said, when you're in a, they kind of took me into different spots and places in the non-physical realm. And they said, okay, so this is a dense frequency. How does that feel? And I go, oh, it's kind of like this is it bad? I said, no. Then you have what I call it kind of like the medium frequency where most people hang out. And then as our consciousness, not whether we're awake or not in the human realm, but our consciousness of the all, the finer that we see and understand it and awaken to that, to the remembrance that's already within, the frequency gets finer and finer and finer, and that's eternal. So when I tap into clients and I'm working with them, I'm tapping into that frequency. If someone is in a dense frequency, then that's where I know they're in, they're kind of poquito perdidos. They're a little lost, but they're not lost.
Mm-hmm.
They're lost in all their thought systems of the past, and their nervous system has not, I could see people's, skeletals and nervous system and all that and so on. And I go, oh, okay, there's a lot of blockage going on. Well, they're not going to be able to see or hear that witch. Yeah. I don't go down to I don't go into the denser frequency, but I honor where they're at.
Yeah.
And so I just gently bring them, hey, what about this and what about that, or so on. But it's so when I work with folks, I say, okay, in that frequency of you, because you have a frequency. It's like your fingerprint. It is specifically yours. You sound a certain way, blah, 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 right? So it's only about getting into that finer frequency of self. That's it. And remembrance, because everything that you do now, Mija, honest to goodness. Okay. I'm agreeing with you now, Mija.
There's something with me.
Yeah, they don't want me talking about you. It was just in a general conversation. So I don't know what's going on with you. Okay, let's just talk about this.
I was going to ask you,
yeah, I was thinking, oh,
what
no,
are you
she's
feeding
not.
off of me right now?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea, because
Into it for a minute. Just be curious and just see what you're tapping into.
Well, I don't, yeah. Not, I actually, I don't do that when I'm doing this, because I don't want to, but you're asking, but I usually don't do that, because without permission, I don't go anywhere, anybody's stuff. If you want to know, I'm picking up a lot of insecurities, but I don't, and I'm like, and I'm not trying to like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to boost you up. I'm just using it as an example. I said, I'm going to use her as an example, not.
So the insecurity is letting me know, because the podcast before was was a question that asked me, what is it that's stopping me from bringing forth what I need to bring forth? And now, like, we can't make it up what has been transpiring anytime.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wanted to be like, okay, what are you seeing? So, and I'm giving you permission to see it. So the insecurity.
Yeah, the insecurity of that. And it's true. When I because I have students from all over. Yeah. And so we do the go-to meeting and stuff like that. And when things are getting interesting, that's what happens. And then I'll just say, okay, ladies, let's take some breaths. And it looks like we're a little, blah, blah, blah. And it's usually on my, not always, but usually on my end, because when I'm working, I get hot. And so everything else gets hot. And then we've had interesting things happen that don't usually happen. They go, oh my God. I go, hey, okay, let me talk about frequency. Let me fine tune my frequency here, so that or if somebody else is really having a rough day about something, then things start happening. So at first I kind of go, oh, and then my people go, no, she's right. So I said, okay, I'm not going to talk about her, but I want to use her as an example.
Yeah, they know that. It's because I'm seeing more and more the part where I need to validate myself. It's like you haven't done fully that part yet. So things are not going to open up until you recognize to validate yourself, so that you don't fumble when, rejection or anything comes in, that you're solid in your own roots. not looking for other people. So when the winds come, that you're like grounded in the roots. So having that validation from myself, so that's why when it was like, okay, let me hear, and then it's like, I was like, okay. So I got to ask her, what is she seeing? And now it's the insecurity. And oh, that's very prevalent with myself. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, because you know what, Mia, you were talking about ego, right? And then this is the thing that some folks don't. We kind of look at ego like the overculture looks at ego in a masculine way. I'm so great, I'm so wonderful. We look at that as ego. And but for my own personal life and other females, ego can also look like I'm not enough. Deflated ego. It's still ego. It's still a sense of self. It's still like pointing, like you said, it's still pointing to the self and then all that old stuff. So the folks that I work with, the students, they go, oh wow, I'm an ego. And I go, that's right, Miha. And so they know it encompasses that part of them, which usually is the past. Why are we insecure? Because, like you said, things happen, our nervous system kicks in, all that talk story gets in there that's no longer part of our lives. And it goes into it's an addictive thing. I
Oh,
love
it's
it's
addictive.
addiction. Yeah. Give me
Oh,
give me that give me that high. Give me
yeah.
that high to tell everybody I'm not enough. Yeah.
How
But
I
that's
did,
you.
yeah, how I describe the ego for people is the defense mechanisms of the nervous system. And
Mhm.
until you surrender it, then you're not able to be in that vulnerability and be in your worth. So the
Yeah.
defense mechanisms were created to protect you so that not good enough or needing to have too much power or whatnot, whatever the defense mechanisms come in to activate to protect you,
Mm-hmm.
learning to surrender that, then you're able to go beyond what the ego is. The gate, the gates open up.
Thank
Um,
you.
so that's how I describe that
Yeah.
ego part. And I describe the self as God, Allah, spirit, your life force, the big S. There's
Mm-hmm.
the small s, which is your persona, your nervous system to navigate the world,
Yeah.
that does, um, die or, dissemble when you transition and go to the other, rebirthing and
Yeah.
transition. So that's how I explain it to people. It's like, well, your defense mechanisms have forgotten that you've been separated from self. You've been separated from God, Allah, like whatever
Yeah.
name you call that higher power, you forgot that you're a part of that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some religions have made you feel that you have to go on the outside through something else
Mm-hmm.
to have that connection, rather than, no, it's within you. You're a part of it. You're not
Yeah.
separate from it. And you don't have to go and get this repentance and feel like you're in purgatory to feel the
Or
acceptance.
do this. But
It's
But you know what? I just found out that your thymus is right here, right?
yeah,
So when you tap on the thymus, it opens up. So I
yeah,
thought there's something always means something, and
yes,
sometimes it doesn't. So I'm going, oh, that's probably where it came from. It
yeah,
probably came from open up the thymus,
yeah.
feel that good feeling, right? Yeah, thymus, yeah, whatever. But no, what you're saying is so true, Miha. Right on. Different words, same thing.
Yeah.
Different
So that
words.
people can just relate to it a little bit, because I find in a lot of our language is this black and white, rather
Yeah.
than making that spectrum to really understand more of what this nervous system does, because it's
Thank
so
you.
insidious. Like you could know something, but to embody it and for it to drop into your body and just be it, it's like it takes some time to
It
reshape
does.
and rewire the nervous system. And
Yeah.
that's where you need that radical compassion for yourself, because you're like, I know better. Like, why did I fall into this pit
Are
hole,
you
or
talking about
whatnot?
me? Are you talking about me again? We better talk about me, because if we talk about you, we're going to freeze up again.
So
I love that. I love that radical compassion, because it's got to be radical sometimes. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
to
I mean, it
really,
always does. I mean, the thing that I always, and you've mentioned it, I think we both mentioned it, is that we have choice. And I think that's where folks, at least, they go, oh my gosh, I said, yeah, we have choice in that in that craziness of the being hijacked, or being in that, if we could definitely, but it takes time. If a body has been on, the nervous system has been on high alert, or in the womb, there was no buenos while I was in the womb, right?
You're in your
So I came out,
grandmother's womb.
yeah, and I came out like, oh fuck, what the hell is this, kind of deal, and it never stopped, till then right. So I understand all that I understood all that intellectually, and my non-physical folks helped me out and everything, but my body was still responding. And then I went, okay, I have choice, but man, my body's still doing this. It's still freaking out. Okay, so now we got to get into Chi soul time. That's what I call it, because what do we all want to get back to, right? Yeah, that nurturing, that chi, nurturing kind of good stuff, right? So, and then finding that. And I don't know about you, Miha, it changes all the time, because soul care, self-care is soul care, soul care is self-care, that it's not about healing the soul. I don't, there's nothing wrong with our soul self. It's just that we don't remember that it's there. That's all. Exactly. It's not that big of a deal, because I see things, even I put things up sometimes and I go, I don't know if that's correct, but oh well. Sometimes language, like we were talking about, nurture your soul. Like, I don't think they need to nurture. I said, okay, that's okay. We'll let it go. But there's nothing wrong with the soul self of being. We just forget that we have a source that is beyond anything we could ever imagine. So when people transition or rebirth, and I've had numerous times where I've seen loved ones or other folks when they leave, I'm there when they leave, and they always have the same look. Now, I'm putting words to it, but as soon as they pop out of their bodies, because they're no longer in pain, they don't have the memories or anything, because they're in that divine, depending on how they lived here, but usually in their divine essence of being, right? They always go, and to me, that looks like, what the fuck was that all about? I don't know. And I go, I don't know, man. And they go, man, that did not feel good. That was not fun, Or some folks that have had a life of, even if it was rough. I had a friend, Auntie Mary, she passed in 2019. She wasn't escaped from the world, but she was like, hey, when I knew when she passed and she came through, she lived in Hawaii. She goes, hey, Julia. I go, what? She goes, I'm out of here. Catch you later. Okay. I said, okay, right on. I'll talk to you later, Mary. She goes, yeah, I'll be back. I just got to go. You know what I got to go do, right? And I go, yeah, I know what you got to go do. Okay, bye. Thanks. Yeah. And boom, and I visit with her periodically. But, she's like, I had a good life. Let me go do my thing over here now. Yeah. So that being a human is not for the, if we're here, we chose to be here, and we were not left without a device of being. You're talking about the nervous system, like you said earlier. That is giving us info all the time. And then we have choice. Even if we know what to do, we still get hijacked and we get addicted.
We do. And I think it's the trust.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yourself. We're so lured to believe that we cannot trust our experience.
Exactly. Especially if you're a woman and a woman of color. Forget that shit. You're constantly told you're not enough. Not overtly anymore. It's, it's covertly now. It's like, oh, stop. Or, I've been around a long time where I was like, huh? Gaslighting. I'm so glad to have a word for it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I used to go, because a long time ago, I had this nonprofit, and I was the first female to do the work in that arena. And I would go to these meetings. I was the only woman, I'm Mexican, right? And these were all, I'm talking San Francisco, San Mateo, all white males, blah, blah, blah. And I would suggest something, and then they would go, oh, well, they would poo-hoo me. And then the next week, we would go to the same meeting. They go, hey, why don't we do X, Y, and Z? And I go, I I told you, classic. I told you folks that last, oh no, we don't remember. Hey, so and so, right on. And I'm thinking, I, I'm not, and then I would say, you guys are really like, I didn't use gaslight. I said, you guys are being assholes. I actually said that. And they go, well, Julia, I said, no, you guys are being assholes. This is not right. We're adults here. I know I gave that. Oh no, now you're saying that we're racist. That was over 20 years ago. And I
Yeah.
go, yeah, I'm saying you're being racist.
Yeah.
And they go, come on, Julia. And I said, fuck you. They could see the look on my face.
Yeah.
I
No.
said, I'm done being a trailblazer in this arena. Because
Yeah.
then, yeah. And it's the same thing in our work too. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm just saying,
Exactly.
we're conditioned to listen to men.
We are.
Yeah.
It's very and whatever culture you're in, the majority is always that women are beneath men and that men bring all the power in and create and everything else. And don't get me wrong,
Not male bashing.
we
Not at
wouldn't
all.
have a world that we do without the physical strength of men.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
not to any of that. I have 4 sons and, blah, blah, blah. And I work with men, thousands of men. There's no male bashing. I'm just sharing that that's the way it
it's
is.
it's the power struggles have been, and
Mhm.
now it's more being recognized, but I can see a lot of men not wanting to lose that power because
Amen. They're
it
fighting.
it, it brings an intimidation within their persona, and power is very seducing. Who doesn't
Oh,
want to
yeah.
be in power?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
as a parent, they know it all with their children until you recognize, like, oh, that is a lot of fear. Like, really and truly, I
Mhm.
am just trying to control a situation because I don't know how to be in the unknown and allow this human being that's in front of me to flourish. Also, yes, I may have some experiences, yet I also have to remember I don't know what you came here to do with your own personal experience.
I
So
love
there's
it.
some knowledge that you have within you that has been, programmed in there that I may not be able to relate to. And you're in a different world than I came in, like totally different world. You know
Mm-hmm.
what? We got ahead of ourselves, and I want to be able to introduce you into the
Oh,
podcast
I
because
need
I
to let me open up the door because this room all of a sudden got super hot.
okay.
It
Yeah,
gets hot. It's really, I think, I'm not going to say, but I think it's this other lady that's in the other side of the screen made it all hot over here. I don't want to freeze the screen.
welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast, Julia. I know that we've already been talking for an hour,
Oh,
and some of this will be put into the front of this podcast just to give you the introduction. Yet, I really am thankful and delighted that my audience is going to be infected with your vibrant energy and frequency because you have such a depth and an exhilaration of energy that anybody that comes in your force field, they feel seen, they feel safe. Um, so I want to thank you for honoring me to be on this podcast.
well, thank you so much, Miha. Really, thank you so much. My whole life, people have been saying that, and I never really understood it. And as I'm at the age that I am now, I welcome those words now because no matter what I do, if people feel that, then I'm doing my work. Safe is important, and yeah, I you make me cry. Yeah, because it's being seen without guile, without judgment, without just seeing another person, and I take that in. It took me a long time to like, what does that mean? Yeah. And it means that you see me and my work. Yeah.
An honor.
Thank you. Same here, Miha. hmm
Will you join me in a short meditation?
Oh, yes.
Let's join each other in the breath, and so we can even let in, even though they've played around with our frequencies already, yes, let them in even more. so that they're in the dialogue. And for the listeners, as you always hear my spiel, like, please don't close your eyes. And if you're getting a little too comfortable and you need your, focus, just skip over this, but listen to the rest of the dialogue. So Julia, I'll ask you to get comfortable and close your eyes. And you're going to begin breathing in and out through your nose. And you're going to bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out through your nose. You're not going to control your breath. You're just going to be aware of it going in your nostrils and inflating your lungs and coming back out in the exhale. There may be some sensations or feelings coming up in the body. It's okay. Let them come up. You're safe to feel. You're safe to let go. Surrender the need to control. Release the need to resist and just be. With your breath, drop into your body, keeping your awareness on your breath. There may be some thoughts or memories that pop up, and it's okay. Gently bring your awareness back to your breath, creating a space between the thoughts and your awareness of your breath. Dropping deeper into your body. Staying focused with that breath. Feeling a softness in your breath. An ease. Keeping your awareness on your breath and dropping deeper into your body. To be a gratitude for your body, for your nervous system, for your life force. Now, while still staying with your breath, at your own time and at your own pace, you're going to gently open your eyes.
I don't know what happened. Yeah.
It dropped the call. I'm telling you, this is a very interesting conversation today.
Okay. That's so funny. It's all good.
What's your heart doing?
Oh, it's nice. It's nice and, yeah, because I was tired from, last night. I wake up early, but it's I have a good heart rate, which is great. It's genetics, so it's actually really good. And I was yawning, which is great. Yeah, which means I'm relaxed.
Nice.
Yeah, that was nice.
Can you let the listeners know a little bit more about the nonprofit and why you went into nonprofit and who you were supporting?
Oh yeah, it's no longer in existence, but the work that I did, I think it was from like 97 and then fast forward 20 years or whatever, we were doing direct services for the Northern California, and I worked with, this was a divine calling. My non-physical peeps said, hey, you need to do this work here. Because I was working with women in, just little simple things. I was just, like, okay, I'm going to work with women. And when I noticed that women that had a lot of trauma, no matter, I don't know, they just, I don't know, I just kind of, I like this work and everything. And I thought, And then the divine thought came that said, if this is good work, but you need to work with the men. And I said, oh, fuck no. I'm sorry. I just said, that doesn't sound like anything I want to do, because that's going to bring up a lot of my stuff. Yeah. And then what was happening was the women were going back home, and, some were getting, okay.
This is funny.
I know, right? It could be I'm not going to say that. So anyways, the women were going home with feeling, like either they got divorced or their relationships were shifting. And so actually the men, you get the calling to do it and then you say you don't want to do it. And it was a short period of time, like a few years. And then the men were like, the women were going, my husband wants to come or my boyfriend wants to come because he sees, how I'm being and he really wants to make this work. And da 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 da. And I said, well, I don't really want to work with men, especially men that are angry. So I decided to go look around and see if there was any training in San Francisco for working with men. And I called up this place that is no longer in existence, called Move, Men Overcoming Violence. And I said, do you guys do trainings or whatever? Because I would like to educate myself on blah, blah. And they said, huh, we're looking for a woman facilitator. I didn't think anything of it. And I said, well, I didn't have any credentials and that's not anything that I wanted to do. I was well educated, some college, but I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do, like be a therapist. It just, there was a lot of restrictions around that. So and I knew who I'd be. So they said, will you come in for an interview? I said, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the heck, I am looking for a job. I could use some money. And at that time, and so I was in my early 40s and I just said, yeah, sure. And they hired me. Little did I know I was the first female in Northern California. I thought it was all of California, but Northern California to work with men that had been convicted of domestic violence. So the first woman, the first Latino woman, the majority of the facilitators were all like or MFTs, LCSWs, PhDs, and stuff like that. But they were looking for a woman to come in, not necessarily a clinician, but someone that had some kind of a background and preferably a woman of color. And so I had no idea what I was getting myself into, none at all. I just wanted to learn how to work with men that were, had these issues. And I worked there for about 3 or 4 years. It was very not good. It was very challenging and hard. And I opened up the venue for females to work. Now, women, it's almost unheard of not to have male and female facilitators. But back then, people, even before I came on the scene, they were processing having a female in the room with men that had been violent with women. Yeah. And so I found this approach through another friend, David Brady, and he said, hey, Julia, there's this approach I'm using in Oaks. It's about innate wisdom within and health. And yeah, I know you do your spiritual work, your good and that work, but I think this could work, And I said, okay, sure. And then I just, how it happens, I start working with when I was working at Move, because I was actually training candidates for PhD because they have to get so many what do you call that? They get to get their hours in domestic violence. Yeah. And so a lot of the men there had issues around me not being a licensed therapist. And the director said, no, you don't understand. She's here. She doesn't have to be a licensed training for you to get your credentials. You're just getting your hours and she's training you because they train me, then I train them. And she's the first female in Northern California. And I said, oh, yeah. So I was under a magnifying glass for all those 3 years, probation, the judges, everybody came in to see how this was working. But, God sent me there. So I was like, okay. So I decided to open up my own center in here in Pacifica. And my brother, who's now deceased, put up the money for a year. And my husband then at the time worked 2 and 3 jobs. So I didn't have to work because I had to quit the other job. And for 2 years, I didn't have a salary. I just did my thing. And David came over and, continued to keep training me with this approach. And we had amazing success with the men. Because my thinking was, Miha, okay, yes, I help females. I mean, I assist females and they feel better and so on. But those women, a lot of times, because you understand this, people want a quick fix. The system wants a quick fix. Everybody wants, you fix these people and blah, 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 right? And it doesn't work that way. You gotta, the whole family unit has to come in, and there was a lot of restrictions around it. So I thought, well, if I have the the male perpetrator, more often than not, it's a heterosexual, but not always, right? But at that time, that was pretty much what it was. If I'm there and being part of the healing for this male, then he's not going to hurt any female that he's in contact with. If a female doesn't move through her whole pain, she's going to continue to keep picking these men. The better, right? And so my daughter then at the time, who was like 21, I said, let's do this. And we did it for 20 years. We did direct services in San Francisco, in the most gang affiliated areas, and we were able to and San Mateo, Pacifica. We at one time we had over almost 20 groups going a week. Yeah, and I had trained a lot of facilitators and things like that. We were very successful. Family courts loved us. I didn't like family courts, it's a lot of, yeah. And there's no funding for that, to work with perpetrators, just with the females. And I understand it. So it was fee for service. And so I thought we weren't making any money. And I went into debt to keep the center going. Yeah, just because I wanted things to work. Yeah. And then David came to me and says, hey, Julia, therapists need CEU units. Let's do a training program. So about 10 years into it, he says, let's do. And so we came up with the 40-hour core training, and they call it trainer of trainers. And we took our approach and presented it to the probation departments and the state and all that and everything. And they go, okay, cool. And then we were able to, this accomplishment. So I didn't ever wanted to go into the hood and especially in the Black and brown communities where I didn't know what was going on, kind of deal. And it was dangerous at that time, both places, East Palo Alto and San Francisco. I wanted to go in there and train the folks there and then leave. That was always my goal. So, and most of the people that wanted to do the work were all white people that came to me. I want to be trained. And so I said, okay, you know what? We need to train the folks here, not like we're going to save them, but train them in this modality so that they can do that. And that's actually when we pulled out of those areas, there were all these different programs that came to us for training to get certified. And as soon as they got certified with the county, we pulled out. That wasn't good for business because then we lost business, but there wasn't a lot of business because most of the service were indigent, and they pay maybe $5 for a 2-hour group. And it took a whole lot more than $5 per person. We figured out it took about like $40 per person for theirs, because they stayed with us for a full year, and you have to have a full staff. You have to pay everybody, right? Yeah. So I find it sad, still not funded. I just don't understand it, but I'm done. Yeah, the clients were great, Miha. Love working with the men, love working with the young folks in the hood and Palo Alto. When I was working at Move, that's what I noticed. There was a lot of men of color, Pacific Islanders, Chinese, you name it, that the modality that they were using there was a white male, Cajun, Protestant, and these guys were keep repeating, offending. The white guys didn't reoffend, but a lot of color. So I talked to the director. I said, man, these guys are like, this is wrong. He goes, Julia, you know what this is made of? This is like not for them. And I go, what? He goes, no. His name is John. He goes, it's made for me. He was, white male, And he goes, and I said, well, I think I got an idea. And he gave us, as long as we gave kudos to them, gave us all the paperwork to start my own center in San Mateo. Yeah. And then we were rocking and rolling because everybody came, and our success rate, we only had them for a year. And then a year for their treatment program. They had to come once a week for 2 hours, and a lot of paperwork. And the recidivism for that, staying in a they call them BIPs, Batters Intervention Programs. I don't know if that's what they call them still now. I think at best maybe 30%. We had a volunteer that said, can I work on some stats here? I said, sure, yeah. Ours was 80%.
Wow, that's high.
Now, I don't know what happened after that year. I just know that approach worked, you know. But that's not what politics and I don't care if this airs, politics in San Francisco. I was born and raised there. It still say it's the same thing. If you're going to do the crime, one of the very itty bitty things, and not domestic violence program, a domestic harmony program. And the probation department did not like us calling it domestic harmony. They wanted us to, talk about how horrible these men were. They did horrible things. They did horrible things. I'm not saying they didn't, but they're, innately there's health there, and that's what we were tapping into.
Yeah, how are
And
you to bring healing if it's always a negative?
yeah, I loved the work. So then we got into training, and then we went all up and down, mostly northern, I'd say from Fresno on up, and in Indian country, the native men, if they copped a DV case, they would have to go off the reservation and go into a white environment, and right. So we had a lot of the tribes come to us and say, hey, can you train us to get certified? I said, right on. And there's a bunch that's where I kind of go, yes, we did it. So there's up and down of they're certified to do the work, so the guys can stay on the res and get their work done. Culturally, I know me, I could tell you story after story. And we went as far as DC and Colorado, people getting certified, and again in Hunters Point, Bayview, Hunters Point, all those areas where there's, still gang affiliated. 3 programs there, I think, at least, of brothers that, hey, Julia, it's time for our recertification. You gonna help us? I said, yeah, mijo, yeah, Mr. Craig, I'm gonna help you, mijo. Let's do this. And, like I said, we pulled out, and he goes, oh man, that's not good for business. I said, Craig, ain't no money in this. If I were doing this for money, he goes, well, okay, we'll just keep coming to you till you no longer do these trainings. And, then we stopped doing the trainings, because then I told my daughter, I'm done. It wasn't about the clientele. It was the politics.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I just said, you guys got to fund these programs, and they wouldn't. And I just said, I can't keep, I need to go do my work over here full time.
Yeah. And support your life to have a more life with softness and ease, and be able to have freedom, and be supportive for the work that you're doing. Because it's, as you can see, it's needed, but it's not supported with the politics.
So, yeah.
I want to ask this question, because
Sure.
you were serving the clientele, and you're still doing the work. It just looks differently right now.
Way different.
How was it making the choice to walk away from the business?
You mean the nonprofit?
Yeah.
Oh, the only reason it wasn't difficult to walk away from the nonprofit, it was established in my brother's name that I never knew. Antonino. I felt like I was letting him down. I never met him, but he died from abuse. Yeah. And
Wow.
so the whole thing was about, yeah, he was 3 years old, and at the hands of my grandfather, so it's a real sad story. So I named it in his honor, and I just felt like I failed my brother. I said, bro, I did this, in your name, and it took a few years. And we had an amazing accountant, excuse me. And she said, Julia, because she knew, she goes, Julia, I think your brother's very proud of you. I think you did a good job. And I couldn't stop crying. And I said, okay, let's close it. And this is just last year. Officially, it's been not functioning for before 2020. Yeah. I mean, so at least 8 years. It's been a while. Yeah. So that was it. And once I let go of my brother and heard that I did a good job, it was fine. Yeah. Yeah. We finally got rid of all the files, because you have to keep the files like
For
10
7
years.
years. Oh, 10. Okay.
Yeah, something 10 or 12 years. And it had been like 15. So we finally just, took everything out of storage and shredded everything, kind of letting things go. That wasn't, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was just sad that it's not supported when something works.
Yeah.
Trust me. We tried, yeah.
You
So,
can see the
yeah, we have
frustration
people,
in the world.
yeah, we have people calling us up every now and then. Are you still doing training? I said, no. Yeah. They go, oh, okay. Are you still doing the work? And I go, yeah. I said, okay, right on. Just keep doing the work. Not a big deal. What I'm doing now is what I love. You know, it is the work full time. I've been like, I always did this full, you know, like side by side, and then finally when I did the fullness of it, um, I'd say like, yeah, I'm like, yes. But I'm with you, Miha. It's that whole nervous system, that whole overculture sharing with you how you be. You know, even with my own people, not anymore, but they would go, oh, you're curandera. You know, they had different thinking around what a curandera is in that vernacular, and I would share with them, and they would go, oh, that's different. And I said, no, it's not different. I said, when the Europeans came over and they did whatever, we had to go underground. And so anything that was left didn't look like in its original form. I said, I feel very blessed that my mother and my grandmother, you know, in their own beautiful way, not necessarily told me, but guided me in their own way. And my ancestors said, don't worries about them. You know, like, no worries about whoever, whatever's saying, right? Yeah, just stay in your lane. And if people get into your lane, you can politely and firmly ask them to leave. Or not politely, but firmly ask them to get out of your lane. Yeah. Just,
Yeah.
I could tell you over and over again when people start hearing, especially white sisters would say, what school did you go to? I said, I didn't.
Oh gosh.
No, really. Well, you can't do that kind of work unless you know, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, yeah. You know, I'm like, what are you talking about? Well,
They're
if you want to
credit.
be a shaman, where's your certificate as a shaman? I said, that's not how that works. And I'm not a shaman. Do you understand what that
Oh,
is?
yeah,
That doesn't happen to me anymore, but
did for a bit. Yeah.
yeah, for a minute, I kind of went, oh. And like again, even my folks, because I would get calls, they would Google curandera and I would show up and they would say, oh, do I have an evil thing around me? I said, I don't work that. I don't work that. And they go, can you just look really quick? And of course, I would say, okay, let me look. I said, no, you got shit there. Because I know folks that call themselves curanderas that use the fear thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Can
Yeah.
you, for the listeners that do not speak Latin, can you explain what that would be in an English term?
Oh, curandera, actually, from my understanding, in the proper way, is seer.
Okay.
SER, seer. So I'm the curandera de la alma. I'm the seer of the soul. Yeah. So yeah. So like yourself, you're the seer. You're the curandera of the nervous system. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Of
you
course.
see, yeah, you see that.
Yeah.
You're connected to that. That's your work. Yeah. My
Yeah.
mother would curandera del cuerpo. She did a lot of massage therapy and stuff. My grandmother, which I wish I would have learned, she's curandera de la hierba, of the herbs. She knew what herbs to pick and things like that. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're all curanderos or curanderos. You know, I think that we're all in that when we find that purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. Can
Yeah.
you let listeners know what kind of work you're doing now and what that looks like and where they can find you?
I love that because Holly and I, my assistant, we're working on, again, at the beginning, we were talking, sometimes people come to me and think that I'm a crystal ball, you know, and I just want to go over here for a minute. I really have a difficult time, all these movies that show curanderas or Latina healers as crazy ladies.
Yeah. Yeah. Speak it again. Let the people in the back understand.
So basically, what I'm doing now is that which, when I hang with people, whatever it is, I was almost going to say you. I better not. So when I sit with people who I'm in a class, what I'm bringing forth to that which you are in the fullness of who you are in your soul self. So seer of the soul means that I am able to see the soul of you is there. So if anyone specifically in that moment is maybe struggling being in the human realm. And they want some information that will be useful and helpful for them in the moment. Their people, their guides, ancestors, even, animals, all of that will come and they'll share with me. Remind her about.
Can you let them know where they can find you?
Okay, at www.theschoolwithoutwalls.net. And they just go there and click on and just surf it up. And look around and see what's there. Yeah, we have a lot of things going on. Podcasts like you have going on, and you were on my podcast, so we're working on getting those editings done, and so that'll be fun. And then we have some specials coming up. We have a retreat. I don't know when this one's going to air, but we have a retreat coming in October in Napa, California. A really beautiful place, that gorgeous. Check the pictures out, guys. I'm so and the theme is soul listening. Yeah,
Nice.
that is a pretty free soul listening, and I have a little recording about that, and it's really cool. And yeah, it'll share with you what the venue looks like, what the food's going to be like, what we're going to be talking story about, what our movement is. It's really cool.
I love
And
it.
I'm just going to throw this out. Next year we're going to New Zealand. So
Oh my gosh.
oh my gosh, this is so interesting. Now, I've not had this challenge before, so no, really seriously, I've not had this much. Oh my goodness. Like it's
I'm
all
not,
good. It's all good. Do you know what it is? We're just too hot. We're just too hot.
we're electrical right now.
Yeah, we're
Um,
electrical big time. I'm doing my best.
it's not you, it's we're like, I don't know what it is in the frequency.
I think it's both of us. We're having too much fun.
We're very, imagine if when we're in person. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Where do
Um,
you live? Where do you
it,
live?
I'm in Canada.
Oh, that's right, Canada. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
Ottawa, Ontario.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm all the way up north compared to where you are. So I'm not feeling the same heat that, well, we've been getting a lot of humidity and a lot of heat, but it's been raining since yesterday. We're getting the remnants of Hurricane Beryl. So we've gotten
Okay.
a lot of water.
Oof.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
I even
Mhm.
actually brought the twins for a rain walk this morning.
Did you really? Huh, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
I
We
really
had to
want- I
turn
love
back
that.
though.
I love the rain. Some
Me
people don't like it. I think it's so.
Every
Mm.
person I pass by, I'm like, go splash in some puddles. And some of them were like, that sounds wonderful. Other people just give me the grunt. And I'm like, you don't know what you're missing out on. Go splash in some puddles. I'm telling you.
Wear your galoshes.
Yeah. Um,
Mhm.
and just let out whatever you need to let out. Well, I want to thank you for being on the podcast, sharing your story,
Thank
sharing your
you.
energy, having the patience with, our guides that have been not wanting us to speak on certain things.
Thanks.
That we're like traversing and being playful with it and just
Oh
being,
yeah.
reminded that it's all okay. It's all good.
Right on. Thank you for having me on, Miha. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. I truly do. And I want to thank you for the warrior work that you're doing out in the world and
Mm,
always, pivoting. And I'm really thankful that this chapter you're allowing yourself to receive and
mm,
be able to be in an experience of delight and playfulness that
mm-hmm,
you did that trench work with the nonprofit, yet now it's like, no, being in the worth and really supporting that work and being in environments that are full of lush and
mm,
abundance and
mm-hmm,
no longer having to scrape and demand the validation. Actually just
mm,
be in that and receive the abundance that's there. And, let the people that really want to do the work to come to you. Um,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
then it will flourish 10
Mhm.
times more.
Right? That's the truth. Yeah, I mean, that's truth. That's not anybody's like blah, 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 but it's truth.
Yeah. So I thank you. I thank you for you just
Yeah.
sharing yourself with the world. It's really, really appreciated. And your sister will be in my meditation,
Oh,
uh,
thank you.
and your family of navigating
Mm.
through the rough waters and the tsunamis of this disruption that's going on. And, you know, my
Mm.
friend was given only 3 months with pancreatic cancer. She was at stage 4 with breast cancer. And
Mm.
here we are. It was March that made a year that she's still here. And the oncologist is like, I don't know how you're doing this yet. As she says, you know, I've been there with her on her side. So I helped with a lot of that releasing in the nervous system and being there. So it's an honor when you can use your gifts in a way that you see the depths and really believe in that it's not me as Natalie, it's
Yeah.
I'm the vessel for the oneness to come through so that people can really be more in their fulfillment and use time as a tool, not a toy.
Thank you, Miha. That is beautiful. Everything you said, yeah. And see, we didn't get a glitch, and you're fully in your wonderfulness. Wow. Wow. You right on, Miha, right on.
I appreciate you. Please remember to be kind to yourself.
Okay. Thank you. I will. Yeah. At your
I'm
order. I'm messing with you. I'm messing.
Hey, you made it all the way here. I appreciate you and your time. If you found value in this conversation, please share it out. If there was somebody that popped into your mind, take action and share it out with them. It possibly may not be them that will benefit, it's that they know somebody that will benefit from listening to this conversation. So please take action and share out the podcast. You can find us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok under Lift Oneself. And if you want to inquire about the work that I do and the services that I provide to people, come over on my website, come into a discovery call, liftoneself.com. Until next time, please remember to be kind and gentle with yourself. You matter.